Hey everyone, it's Luke here from Astro Awakening. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for supporting me. I'm going to talk about Mercury. No, not that one. Or that fake NASA image. Yeah, I guess that one will do. The god Mercury, also known as the magician, the trickster, Hermes, Hermes Trismegistus, Tahuti, Thoth. He is a tricky little devil, this Mercury character, as we're going to see. The reason I'm talking about Mercury at the moment is because Mercury is moving through Capricorn, making its annual pass through the sign Capricorn. It was recently retrograde in Capricorn. It broke its shadow at 24 degrees only a few days ago. It's now moving over its annual conjunction with Pluto. When a planet comes into an alignment with Pluto, things from the unconscious come into consciousness through the function of the planet that's making the conjunction, in this case, Mercury. So the unconscious can reveal the shadow, the repressed energy, secrets, taboos, dysfunctional patterns of behavior and emotional responses, and all that sort of stuff can come up at the moment and press upon the mind. Now, Mercury rules over our thoughts, our thinking, our ability to rationale and for reasoning. It's that analytical aspect of the mind where we do a lot of our analysis. So during this alignment over the next few days, there can be over analysis, there can be really obsessed thinking and thoughts, there can be deep thoughts and thinking. It might be a time where you can really get to the bottom of something, to get to a really core known truth. It may be that you're confronted with some taboos or secrets that rise to the surface rapidly and they catch you unaware. It's like something is being revealed for the first time, or that you're being made aware of it, or perhaps it's been at the level of unconscious and there's been a sense, but there hasn't been a conscious connection to what that sense may be. Well, this alignment may be that Mercury is now allowing that sense to rise up into your conscious mind. Make sure through this period of time that you are grounding yourself in the present moment, that you're not stuck in overanalyzing something that's happened from the past, or in anxiety about something that might or might not happen about the future. When our mind starts to go down a particular thought pattern or process, right, if we hold on to that thought pattern or processes, it can activate the imagination. All of a sudden we can start to imagine all types of scenarios and delusions and other types of things that support the thought process. And the next thing, that imagination takes a hold and we start to actually think, then feel as if what's going on in the mind is real. And we can end up in, delusions and fantasies and all sorts of sort of ungrounded, overwhelmed, overanalysis sort of points in time. So really come back to the present moment. Channel that down into some research perhaps you've got to do, or getting to the bottom of something, or if you've got some paperwork you've been putting off for a long time and it's going to take a lot of concentration, this is a really good aspect to do that. But what I want to do with this video is I want to explore Mercury in all its different aspects and help you understand how to know whether you or people in your life or out in the collective are under the rulership of the mind, or Mercury. The interesting thing about Mercury in astrology is Mercury is not polarized into a gender. So the sun is masculine, Venus is obviously feminine, the moon is feminine, and Jupiter is masculine. Mars is obviously masculine, ruling over males, men, masculinity, aggression. So all of the planets tend to be polarized into a particular gender. And gender isn't man and woman, okay? Gender is an expression of the energy. It's masculine, it tends to be projective, assertive, direct, outward expressive. If it's feminine, it tends to be receptive and magnetic. Masculine is more electric, feminine is more magnetic. Feminine is more receptive, intuitive, sensitive. Feminine energy is more of the negative polarity of a battery end, and masculine is more of the positive polarity, right? So neither one is, it's not positive in the sense of better or negative in the sense of bad. It's just, that's the expression of the energy. The interesting thing about Mercury, he's not polarized. He's what's known as the hermaphrodite. One of his names is Hermes, right? And then you put Hermes and Venus together, which is also known as Aphrodite, and you get hermaphrodite. And Venus and Mercury in that, it means that it can go between, that it's transgender. But the thing about Mercury is it tends to take on the flavor of where it is in the chart. If it's in a masculine sign, it can become more masculine, more projective, more outward thinking. If it's in a feminine sign, it can be more introspective and reflective. Mercury rules over 2 zodiac signs. Mercury rules over Gemini and also Virgo, right? If you look at the tarot cards for Gemini, you'll notice the lovers, right? And this is the 2 aspects of mind at play here. Now, Gemini is this dual sign, the dual nature, and the lovers card, right, is a beautiful card where it depicts the union of the 2 hemispheres of the brain, which gives us connection to the higher self, right? So it's known as the card for the lovers, which is Gemini, because it's the uniting of the 2 different aspects. If you know Gemini people, they're really good at polarizing themselves against a particular point of view or perspective that someone might take. So if, for an example, you might say, oh, I think this about blah, 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 and they'll naturally gravitate towards the opposing viewpoint, even if they don't, value that perspective. They do that naturally to sort of see both sides, because they're presented with one side. They gravitate towards the opposing side just to go to see that side. It can be quite frustrating at times, because it's just like, can't you just see it my way? And it's like, no, they have to look at it that way to actually get the whole picture. The union of both sides creates lovers, right? Which is connection, the divine romance, right? It's within us, within our mind. If you look at the card Virgo, you notice it's the hermit, right? And he's like the wizard, and he's got the little lamp, and he's looking down and within with his little staff. And Virgo, being an earth sign, feminine, and Gemini being a masculine sign, masculine, an air sign, masculine. Virgo, the feminine aspect, the magnetic aspect, the receptive aspect, it tends to put the mind in towards introspection. So introverted introspection, self-analysis. And Virgos are dealing with a refinement of things. They tend to break things down, not overanalyze, they analyze things, they break them down, and they make them into the most efficient way, right? It's all about the best use of time and energy and how everything works and what is the best way to get from this point to the objective and how to use energy and time efficiently and most accurately. They're really good craftsmen with their hands, and they take patience, and they want to get things precise and right, neatly and organized. Whereas Geminis can be like, oh, let's just do it like this. Oh, let's just do it like this. And they can go from one side to the next side, and they're never really resting one moment at a time on one particular thing at a point at a time. Now, with mind, this is the mind that we're talking about here. The mind, right, can be like that. We can go from one thing to the next, or we can stick onto one thing and we can really refine that thinking or thought process, or we can be up in the just, oh, well, doesn't matter, move on, who cares, let's think about the next thing. And we can be over thinking about lots of different things, and the mind can be, well, all these are aspects of Mercury, right, the planet Mercury. Mercury has a lot of significations. Mercury rules transportation, navigation, communication, but also rules over marketing, sales, and advertising, and logos, right? As in logos, the word, as in writing and speech, but also logos in general, the symbolism that we get. It rules over learning, it rules over communication, but the articulation of speech. It rules our central nervous system, and it is responsible for body language as well as our thoughts and thinking in that process. So it's got a huge range. But Mercury isn't polarized, and Mercury was known as the messenger of the gods. Mercury has a shadow side, which is known as the trickster. In the tarot card for Mercury, which all of the planetary bodies have a significant tarot card, which is the major arcana cards, he is the magician. And if you notice that the magician, right, has access to all of the elements on the table. These elements are all different elements that he has access to: fire, water, air, and earth. Meaning that when you take conscious control of your mind, you can become a magician. You can use your mind to direct your will, to evoke emotions, to channel your thinking, to make changes on the earth. So the mind, when under the conscious control of the will, is a very powerful instrument. When left to its own devices, however, it can become the trickster, the shadow aspect of the magician. When the mind is not under the conscious control of the will, which centers from the heart space, and thoughts are not balanced upon some intrinsic connection to that heart, then it can also be prone to mind conditioning, but also mind control. And when you look out into the actual world at the moment, in this wokeness that's going on, in this gender crisis that's going on, these are all conditions of mental illness, of mind imbalance, of mind control, where the conscious will connected deeply to the heart of the person is no longer directing the mind at all. And there has been this systematic, long drawn out process over tens of decades where they have infiltrated Hollywood, the media, marketing, advertising, the music industry, the entertainment industry, the sports industry, and even your government, and they have obliterated it with all sorts of warped, dark, occult symbolism to create an imbalance within the mind, to enable those with nefarious means and agenda to control the mind of the masses. And what we see right now with this wokeness and this gender stuff is literally where people have allowed the mind to become their god. And the problem with that is that someone else is in control of that mind. And if they think their mind is the god, but the truth of the matter is that someone else is controlling it, then they're under mind control. And what we're seeing in the world, all of this dysfunction that's infesting public policy, in the entertainment industry, in Hollywood, in all sorts of wokeness that's censoring and canceling, it is a mind virus. As Mercury makes its annual conjunction with Pluto, the god of the underworld, it's time for a lot of deeper, unspoken truths to come in to conscious realization. It's time for a deep transformation of the mind, of how we think and how we perceive ourselves and the world around us. Guard the gates of your mind. Exercise caution. Direct your thoughts under the conscious control of your loving will. Disconnect from what is going on in the world. Detach and reconnect to what really matters. Reconnect to yourself, your godly given, divine, unique, beautiful self. Reconnect to this earth and reconnect to one another. I'm Luke Belk. This is Astro Awakening. Thanks for watching. Peace out.